And so you all have, how long have you been with Elastos?
Over 2 years now. It's been a while.
Have you always been the VP of development, or have you
No,
kind
I
of come
started as an
way up?
evangelist.
How long have you been
Um,
with Elastos?
so I started as evangelist, and I came from a software engineering background. So one of my old colleagues became the CTO of Elastos for a while, and then he poached me from my job in Silicon Valley. And next thing I knew, I was flying around the world giving talks on blockchain, Elastos. Pretty fun times. I mean, that's early 2018, so the hype was on, and there's tons of conferences, and still talk to a lot of the same friends I met during my travels now.
Cool. No, yeah, really excited to have you on. Welcome everyone that's joining from YouTube. Really excited to have Clarence Liu from Elastos joining us. So we'll be able to get started here in about 1 minute. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Is it?
Yeah, you did. You got my last name correct. It's actually somewhat rare, I think.
Yeah,
So
sweet. No, yeah, really excited. And so Elastos has really been kind of like turning on to DeFi and like kind of expanding in that realm,
yeah,
right?
we have an EVM compatible chain, and we have a pretty large footprint in China as well. So um, we are trying to get into DeFi. We are trying to bridge to the Ethereum network and other networks and Filecoin as well. So we're trying to do quite a bit, a few things. Elastos is also a pretty big team. We have over about 70 engineers working on various aspects of the project. So it's a pretty big project.
Yeah, and then do you work yourself with because one of our node operators, Vulcan Link, so they're always a part of like the Cyber Republic, and I think
Hmm.
they're kind of helping with this bridge with Elastos. Is that right?
Yeah. Let me give a quick like high level overview of Elastos. I think.
Yeah. Do you want to go ahead and get started?
Oh yeah, I thought we started already.
Yeah,
Oh,
we were just kind of pre-talking, but we can go ahead and yeah. Everyone that's joining from YouTube, really appreciate y'all joining. Really excited to have Clarence Liu, the VP of Development of Elastos, here today. Talk a little bit more about what Elastos is building. The way that this will be structured is it'll be about 20, 30 minutes of Q&A. If you have questions, please feel free to drop them into the YouTube chat. We'll try our best to get to them. If we don't, I'll make sure to drop all the links in the description afterwards, and you can join one of our Discords or Telegrams, and we'll be able to answer your questions there. Yeah, without further ado, Clarence, do you want to maybe just give a little bit about what Elastos is and kind of go from there?
yeah, sure. Great. Yeah, thanks for having me. So my name's Clarence Liu. I'm the VP of Development for Elastos, and I'm also a software engineer in training, so I'm fairly technical. Elastos is a complete platform for building DApps. We're a multi-chain, and we're also nonprofit, so we're really building this platform for everyone to use. We One of our primary chains is which we call the main chain. Actually, merge mines with Bitcoin, and that has about over 50% of Bitcoin's hash rate. So that's what kind of underpins, provides the Elastos network or ecosystem, that security. And on top of that, we've built all the typical services you would expect for building DApps. It's more tightly integrated because it's all one project. So we have storage on Elastos Hive, we have peer-to-peer messaging through Carrier, and we have an EVM compatible chain, which is actually where most of the stuff goes on, the smart contracts and things like that, right? Another thing I want to mention too is Elastos is intrinsically built with a DAO. So on our main chain itself, we have the actual opcodes to submit proposals and vote for council leaders and things like that. So the Cyber Republic DAO, which I think you just mentioned earlier, that even Vulcan Link or this collaboration is funded with, does allow proposals. Our actual main chain allows for DAO type submissions and proposals. So there is uh, tons of opportunities there for people to get involved and actually request funding for things.
Very cool. Yeah. So I'd love to learn a little more about kind of maybe that relationship with Vulcan Link and maybe how this bridge between Elastos and Chainlink is working.
Okay, so we'll take a step back, I guess. So the Elastos is our own separate network. We have an EVM compatible chain. So you can think of us as like Polkadot or all these other projects that will probably be EVM compatible as well. And the point of the bridge is obviously to allow tokens to move from the Ethereum network and have a proxy on the Elastos network, sort of similar to wrap BTC or Rent BTC, any of those tokens. So we do want to have something like ELA DAI that moves over to Elastos. Link as well, so probably wrap Link and move it to Elastos, so that on the Elastos side, we can actually pay the oracles properly with Link, and they can transfer it back to the Ethereum network and withdraw that or something like that, right?
Very
And
cool. Yeah.
I was going to say Vulcan Link that we the backstory is actually I met Vulcan Link at ETH Denver. So we were on a hackathon team together. We actually were placed as a finalist. So it's pretty cool. And I still talk to him, of course, and we caught up, and he's doing tons of things at Vulcan Link. Leo, who's the creator of Vulcan Link. So it's a great relationship. And they also applied for funding through this DAO that I mentioned earlier.
Great. Yeah. Definitely want to give a shout out to the Vulcan Link guys. They put a lot of work into helping grow the Chainlink ecosystem. So definitely can't leave them out. And so Elastos is kind of shifting and also really focusing on DeFi now. Is that correct?
Yeah, we definitely are. There's a lot of potential there. We think that with Elastos, especially with our network into China as well, and with we have more digital asset focus too. So we think that there's got to be this bridge between NFTs and DeFi and all these things, be able to maybe exchange or maybe collateralize NFTs one day. There's tons of things that we can probably provide to the ecosystem that we haven't really come up with yet. But the tech is much more integrated, I'd say, in Elastos. So if we find a really good vertical that we think that we can actually capitalize on, like we actually have our own Elastos app itself too. So you can go to Play Store. iOS is in test flight right now, but we have our own app called Elastos or ElastOS that you can download, and that will actually be kind of the proving grounds for our DApps. Just want to mention though, Elastos is still in development, so I'd say we're targeting end of next year, middle of next year for really things to really be polished.
Very cool. Yeah. I'm really excited to see that come out, and had no idea that you guys had an app. That's great.
Yeah.
And so from a technology standpoint now, like what do you think are kind of the challenges right now that you see with like Ethereum, and then what value and what makes Elastos unique to be able to solve those challenges?
Well, Elastos uses proven technologies. I'd say we're not, there's definitely an Algorand and Definity out now who are trying to do, be very fancy with VRF type solutions. Elastos is a tried and test proven set of technologies. We use hybrid auxiliary POW, which is merge mining with Bitcoin and DPoS. So it doesn't really get more, traditional than that, right? With the hybrid there. So we do are targeting any projects such as enterprises that are looking for a public blockchain that it's built on technologies that they trust, right? Not something fancy that's not really been proven out in the wild yet. They might not want to actually try that. So with 50% Bitcoin's hash rate, I mean, cost to attack, actually, if you look at the numbers or just try to consider that, it's probably harder or more costly to attack Elastos than even Ethereum. So we do have that, the security advantage there. And also in our Elastos application, it acts as a sandbox for applications that want to build inside the Elastos application, so that can protect digital assets, privacy, and things like that.
Awesome. And so are developers able to build with Solidity, or what is the program?
Yeah, it's 100% backwards compatible with Solidity. So you can write Solidity code, compile. It's EVM. It's a fork of EVM, right? But we basically replaced the POW component, the consensus protocol, with our own DPoS consensus protocol.
Got it.
So it's also faster. So we'll probably be down to about 5 second block times in the future.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. And then so there's a lot that's kind of mentioned within our announcement together in the blog post about possibilities with gaming, DeFi, specifically with gaming with Chainlink VRF. But where do you see value in Chainlink decentralized oracles, and how is Elastos really planning to use those?
So for Elastos, like I said, we have a very strong focus on digital assets. One of the things about Elastos, the application, ElastOS, and the whole idea of Elastos is to the things, common themes such as owning your own data, privacy. Those are really strong values of Elastos and the foundation, and will always be going forward, right? So with DeFi, we do actually want to build real world use cases that will require actual real world data. So then we're looking at very traditional use cases such as logistics or IoT, even with, for example, like with digital assets, there's a whole creator side of it. So the with the creator side, we perhaps want people to be paid properly, automatically. Say royalties have to flow through smart contracts, and you definitely need decentralized oracles to make sure that the data off chain is there and ready for that kind of processing, right?
Cool. Yeah, yeah. And then, so what's next also on like the Elastos product roadmap, and where else are you currently kind of focusing on?
I think the end goal, especially what we're trying to push for, is really tight integration with all the different features. I would say, as an engineer myself, when you develop on Ethereum, you kind of pick and choose different technologies to fulfill your needs, right? So, you use IPFS, and you use, maybe a layer 2 like Matic if you wanted to make it faster, but you kind of pick and choose with Elastos. And then also one last thing is with Ethereum too. Identity, you usually just use MetaMask, but if you actually want to, hook an actual identity, you have to put UPort in there too. So there's a lot of things going on, right? With Elastos, we want to make the developer experience a lot simpler. So we're working on everything should be probably tied to your DID. So anyone doesn't know what a DID is, that's a W3C decentralized identifier. So with Elastos, we already have in the app an ability to create your own DID. So when you first create an account, you do get a DID, you get the basic wallets and all the functionalities. But with the DID, you kind of want to link everything to that DID. That's kind of your personal account for everything, and the privacy is there, baked in, and be able to link. Say if you upload files, just the way you use Google Drive, right? Instead of that, you use your DID to link that to the files, so that everything's sort of connected to that DID. That becomes your sort of avatar identity on the Elastos ecosystem. So that just has to be done better, I think. Right now it's the DID integration is not all there yet, but we're getting there.
Very cool. Yeah, no, that's definitely a big topic that's kind of coming up at the moment. Do you want to talk maybe like technologically, like how that kind of works, the DID itself?
Yeah, I mean, for example, we have a large Elastos carrier network with 200, 300,000 nodes. This is a peer-to-peer proxy network, for example, right? With this network, currently, we have just carrier IDs. But ideally, what you want to be able to do is say, I have a DID, you have a DID, and that's all I really need to know to send you a message, for example. Or if I have an app that I have a DID and I want to add you to my friends list, it should automatically figure everything out too. Or if I upload a file to my app, then it should always be linked to my DID. So everything kind of centers around this DID as being your personal identity. We're also building things like ELA-Box, which is kind of like Solid. You have that home built server that you can run, or Urbit, where you have like a computer at home that sort of hosts all your private data instead of it being on Google Cloud, right? So even if ELA-Box, you want to have a DID there so that maybe your data can exist there instead of on some corporation system, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then yeah, so is there anything else like within like developers of the Elastos community where they can get involved and kind of help you guys kind of build this?
Yeah, definitely the DAO, right? So CyberRepublic, you can go to cyberrepublic.org and see our suggestions proposals process. That's kind of our maybe our Aragon, right? So you can see, you create an account, you can actually link your DID. One of the cool things is the DID is already integrated there. So if in order to create a suggestion, which then becomes a proposal, you do need a DID to and you actually scan a QR code and scan it and sign it with your Elastos wallet. That's a pretty cool process we already have working. So that's where you can go and, well, first you have to learn Elastos, of course, and kind of get into the community. But once you have a good idea or something you want to actually do, or feel like you can contribute and you want to get paid for it, then the process is there.
Got it. Okay. And then also within like Elastos, And just I guess like Ethereum and blockchain in general, what are the biggest like challenges that you see on like a development standpoint that people should be kind of like focusing on and trying to solve?
Oh, there's many things. I mean,
Yeah.
as an engineer myself, it's I think, oh geez. I mean, IPFs and Filecoin, I mean, that's kind of starting. I think the database is the hardest part, right? Um, we're still not there yet in terms of where we can store data. I mean, storage on Ethereum is too expensive, the gas fees and things like that, right? I think Ethereum 2.0 is coming around pretty soon. I got that their beacon chain's almost launched, right? But we still people still want a database. I think that's kind of um, something that hasn't really been solved yet.
Yeah.
We'd
Yeah.
like to see something that actually gets built for that.
Cool. And then, yeah, is there anything else that maybe that we left out that like you wanna mention to the audience?
Um,
And if the audience, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them also into the YouTube. We can get to those.
I hope I didn't speak too fast, but I think I covered most of the things that we're building. Cyberpunk is where I really want to focus, I guess, the put the emphasis on, I guess.
Yeah.
Elastos is really decentralizing. I think that we're probably what could be extremely decentralized. Actual Elastos Foundation will step down into a standards committee on the next anniversary in August, actually upcoming August. And then already our teams have split up. So even myself, I've started a project called CR Regions, which is the business arm of Cyberpublic. So crregions.com, you can go there and see like our website under our blog. And all the other teams have actually split off and formed their own entities and things like that. So we're going to be really fully community driven. That we're transitioning right now to become a fully community driven project. And Lassos is nonprofit too. So like what we're building is not just, it's not to make money or anything like that. We're not doing anything, that's not transparent. We're just building this for hopefully that we can build a really robust platform that's really easy to use for developers.
Very cool. Yeah. And then so with Cyber Republic, what other like projects are kind of like in focus that is kind of being built here? Like what are some other proposals that are out there?
We have things like exchange listings and marketing, of course, but the ones that are really getting a lot of attention right now are obviously the DeFi ones. So we're still building the fundamental building blocks. So if you look now, there's a couple of proposals in Chinese, but it's one is something called Elamask. So it's a MetaMask for Elastos, tailored for Elastos. And another one is the token bridges that we mentioned earlier, right? So definitely want to get those basic functionalities ready. I mean, I think oracles from Chainlink was the first thing we needed, but then the next few things that we still need a couple more things, right? The bridges and such.
Very cool. Yeah, well, if there's anything else, and then so the best place to follow, what is the Elastos Twitter and like Telegram channels
Yeah,
or
everything's under Elastos info now, elastos.info, or the Twitter is Elastos info. And then, of course, we have our Elastos group Telegram, which you can join.
cool. Yeah, well, if there's no other questions, I see one here. Can you tell us the difference? Can you tell us more about the Ethereum sidechain and how it scales in comparison to just traditional Ethereum? Probably from more of like a technical standpoint, how this scales.
Yeah. So starting with the actual consensus protocol, we just use DPoS. So Elastos has a DPoS network, which is elected through our main chain's native token, ELA. And this DPoS network provides the consensus protocol for the Ethereum sidechain itself. And then also we're building on in the future the ability to spawn or create your own side chains that if you had, say, a more intensive application, then there can be a DAO process where the DAO's nodes would actually agree to say, okay, add you to the network. So it's sort of maybe like Polkadot, where you have this relay chain in the center that provides consensus for all the chains. Elastos will probably branch in that direction too. So it would be independent side chains for each application or a set of applications or a group of maybe one company would make a bunch of applications on their own chains.
Got it. Very cool. Yeah, well, Clarence, I really appreciate you taking the time and joining on this. For everyone else that's viewing, I'll make sure to drop all the links that we talked about in here below. And definitely join the Elastos community. And if there's no last questions,
Okay.
again, really appreciate it,
There is
Clarence.
there a
And
YouTube? Is it just there's one question, right? You said just that one.
yeah,
Oh, another thing to add too is so with the DPoS, of course, we do have slower, better block times. There's no POW involved now, right? So with the DPoS consensus protocol, then that's how we can push the block speeds down to say 5 seconds or so. Just as a comparison, I know I think Tomo chain's around 5 seconds. I think Thunder Core is around down to 1 second, I believe. But the stark difference here is Elastos is much more decentralized. Um, uh, Even Tomochain and these guys, I mean, they're more federated. They're just selected nodes, and when you select the nodes, it's way easier to, fine tune the latency between the nodes and get the block time lower. But then as soon as you introduce, inconsistent nodes that aren't homogeneous with the current set, you're gonna have all these type of issues, right? So Elastos has actually been in operation since we're an older project, right? We've been around since 2017. So having these nodes running for a very long time, experimenting and having that robust, network lets us say we're more decentralized. And at least at the outer point, we have 108 or maybe almost 100 now. I think 90 something nodes right now that are running that, providing that consensus protocol. So hopefully one day what we'll do is be able to perhaps up the performance too. We could say there's certain tiers of performance, or we could have a smaller subset of those DPoS nodes run the side chains and things like that. So there's a lot of ways that Elastos can optimize this DPoS network in the future. And lastly, I just want to say that the DPoS nodes that are voted, one of the cool parts about the Elastos architecture is that the ELA token itself, the minting is not possible on these side chains. The minting is always on the main chain. So compared to other pure DPoS solutions, both the minting and the voting happens on the same chain. So if there were ever any issues where the consensus was able to be attacked, you might be able to get a situation where the majority or the attacker could just mint a bunch of new tokens and vote for themselves, and that's really solidifying their attack. So for Elastos, you can't get that because our main chain is where ELA token comes from, and if you want to attack that, then you have to attack Bitcoin, which is you'd have to unmask more than 50% of Bitcoin's hash rate to attack Elastos.
interesting. Yeah, that's crazy. And so I see another question in here, and I think it goes back to like the App Store. What other like native apps are going to be coming into this app store, and like which ones are you really like excited about and like possibly looking for to kind of join that?
Well, so Elastos actually is kind of an app launcher. So within Elastos, when you download it, you set up your wallet, which you set up your DID, and that's all free initially. And then inside we have these things called capsules. So capsules actually are the apps that are inside. So one of our latest apps, capsules, is Feeds, which is a decentralized Twitter. So that's what we already built, and that's probably one of the most exciting things is really trying to do this decentralized Twitter. I don't know if you know about Urbit. They have similar ideas where they have groups. So it's like a private Twitter. So let's say you and 10 friends want to have your own little Twitter, but that doesn't really solve the problem, right? Because that's a 10-person Twitter or a 10-person Facebook. That's not really what we're going for. So Elastos wants to be a global Twitter that's really decentralized. And you can't really do that without some sort of governance because, I mean, there are going to be bad posts and things like that. How do you actually manage that? And we have Cyber Republic. We have a DAO already baked in. It's intrinsic to Elastos. So there's actually, I believe that, fees just came out, like it's like version 0.2. But I think we can actually really get to a point where we can say we have a decentralized Twitter and we have a governance system that is not just, you can't just, go on Aragon and spin up a team. And it's not, you can have 100 DAOs on Aragon, right? So like which one actually has the final say on what post goes on this decentralized Twitter? It's going to become, it's just mayhem in that sense, right? So we really want to go back to, let's actually have a real decentralized, governed